Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Monday, January 28th, 2019. And here are some of today's trends in the news. On the market front over there in Asia, everybody's down a little bit, except Hang Seng, it's up a little bit. Over there in Europe, everybody's down. Here in the States, it's a down day. Oil down, gold up a little bit, and Bitcoin down a bit of a bit, down over 3%. But more on Bitcoin coming up soon in your Trends Journal. That's right, your January Trends Journal, a major cryptocurrency story, Bitcoin story by our expert, Jonathan Cho. On the market front, stocks fall sharply on Monday after weak and unexpected quarterly earnings and guidance from Caterpillar, as well as big revenue forecasts cut from chipmaker NVIDIA, stoked fears about Chinese economy slowing. Caterpillar shares fell over 9%, and they say that Caterpillar is considered a bellwether for global trade, given the company's exposure to overseas markets. And what else is a bellwether for trade? How about copper, huh? Dr. Copper down 1.58% today. NVIDIA dropped 13.8%. The chipmaker said deteriorating macroeconomic conditions, particularly in China, impacted demand for its graphic processing units. So here's the deal. The global economy is slowing, so get ready for some more monetary methadone. The folks are going to call it stimulus. That's right. Maybe even new rounds of quantitative easing. And so we're looking at the markets, but they had a good run-up since they bottomed out on Christmas Eve. They're still up in the States some 12%. And the earnings report so far, they're pretty solid so far. But they're going to start coming down in the next quarter, particularly with this government shutdown that Trump had, and he lost on this one. I'm going to keep the government closed until they give me money to build that wall. I guess it was just more.
Bullshit detected. Take precautions.
That's right, because Trump backtracked. But they say the economy in the United States dropped out from about some $12 billion. Oil prices tumbled on Monday as weak industrial earnings in both China and the United States raised concerns about the global slowdown that could cut fuel demand. Profits at China's industrial firms contracted in December for a second straight month. Now, we got to blame it on those trade wars and tariffs that aren't really doing anything, but we'll blame it on that and not look at the real fact that there's a global slowdown. Has nothing to do with that. And staying on the oil front, hey, what's going over there in Venezuela with the United States engineering that coup, as detailed in your November Trend Alert and your Trends Journals, Triangle of Death. We called it first. Maduro, that president over there in Venezuela, he should have subscribed to the Trends Journal. Then he would have known what was coming. We're the only ones that forecast that, just to make it clear. And what else do we have here on the oil front? That West Texas is still up more than 14% this month, and Brent is on pace for a gain of about 11%. But if things really start getting nasty over there in Venezuela, and you're going to see some big cutbacks if war breaks out, watch oil prices go up. And again, let's not forget about Iran. Just because it's out of the news doesn't mean the issue of the United States, Saudi Arabia, and Israel targeting Iran, that other triangle of death in the Middle East, something happens there, oil prices will skyrocket above $100 a barrel. Say goodbye to economic growth and equity markets. Gold steadies above $1,300. But they're waiting for the Fed talks to come out this week to see where the Fed's going, and most people are anticipating they're going to be bearish on raising interest rates in 2019. a backtrack. Because remember, back in September, Jerome Powell, the Fed chairman, said, or indicated, I should say, that they were going to be aggressive in raising interest rates in 2019. Draghi warns trade wars and Brexit set to extend Eurozone slowdown. You know what that is.
Oh, come on now. That ain't even bullshit. That's horse shit.
Typical Draghi horseshit, but that's all he's ever been spewing out. The head of the European Central Bank. The shift in global economic sentiments triggered by the United States trade war and investor nervousness over rising costs of borrowing have presented a quandary for the world's large central banks, which have spent much of the past 2 years slowly unwinding cheap money policies implemented during the financial crisis. You got it. Cheap money. A Ponzi scheme. Has nothing to do with a slowdown in China because of a trade dispute. They're slowing down because the economy is slowing down. And the borrowing quandary, that they're going to have to borrow money at real interest rates. Draghi was reluctant to spell out how its policy would change, and the ECB has little room to maneuver with its benchmark interest rates left unchanged at 0. Yeah, well, you could go negative 0.000. More quantitative easing. That's what we see is going to happen. Although the ECB has ended the purchase of new bonds, it said it would continue rolling out the existing bonds it holds until it started raising interest rates. And you know when they're saying they're going to raise interest rates? Now they're not even saying they're going to raise it this year, maybe next year. Outlook for growth declines, report says. Forecasters surveyed by the European Central Bank lowered their outlook for growth and inflation in the 19-nation Eurozone. They are looking for growth in the Eurozone next year, or this year I should say, at the grand total of 1.5%, despite this massive Ponzi scheme. And in the United States, as we know, all it did was boost the equity markets up, of which the 1% own 50% of. And around the world, the same thing. Recovery of Argentinian peso comes at a cost. Oh yeah, it really recovered. It was down about 50%. It gained about 10%, so it's only down about 40%. You're looking at inflation rates of 48%. And you ready for this? Interest rates now at 57%. But they brought a smart economist in there, remember, Macri, and he was going to fix things. And talking about fixing things, China to spend $125 billion on railway projects as people in America, particularly in New York, it's a night in Calcutta when you take the subways. $125 billion in railway. And what do we have? $715 billion in defense budgets to enrich the military-industrial complex. And Trump's tax cuts, as we said right from the beginning, were not going to create jobs or see money go into capital investment, but rather stock buybacks to keep the Ponzi scheme going. 1.5 trillion U.S. tax cut has no major impact on business spending, survey says. National Association of Business Economists quarterly business conditions poll on Monday found that while some companies reported accelerated investments because of lower corporate taxes, 84% of respondents said they had not changed plans. 84% indicate that 1 year after its passage, the corporate tax cut has not caused their firms to change hiring or investment plans. So once again, what Trump said, I talked about China spending all this dough in infrastructure. Remember, that was one of Trump's campaign pledges? Nobody talks about that, and nobody's talking about this, because all it is just more.
Warning, warning, bullshit alert.
That's all it is. Up, Venezuela, the big story again, and you heard it first in the Trends Journal, Triangles of Death. The Trump administration has announced sanctions on Venezuela's state-owned oil company, PDVSA. And by the way, it's better known as Citgo also. Yeah, that oil company, that gas stations, that's right. National Security Advisor John Bolton, National Security Advisor, national crazy madman John Bolton, made the announcement in the White House briefing room on Monday afternoon alongside Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin. Quote, "We have continued to expose the corruption of Maduro and his cronies, and today's actions ensure they can no longer loot the assets of Venezuelan people." What right does America have to do this? They have all the right in the world. We are the exceptionals, the exceptional murderers, the exceptional arrogant hypocrites, starting wars all over the world. Oh, this time again. Hey, have you ever heard this one? In the name of Duh-Mocracy. He goes on to say, "We expect that today's measures total $7 billion in assets blocked today, plus over $11 billion in lost export proceeds over the next year. We will also today call on Venezuelan military and security forces to accept the peaceful, democratic, and constitutional transfer of power." Can you believe the arrogance of this? And where's the media on this? Everybody's right behind it. The same folks that sold you weapons of mass destruction and ties to Al-Qaeda. And remember when I was a kid, that Vietnam War, yeah, them dominoes are going to keep falling and those commies will take over the world. Hey, they were right, but wrong about Vietnam. The Chinese have taken it over. That's right, that biggest commie country that anybody could ever imagine, because the United States manufacturers sold out, gave them our technology, built our stuff over there, and so too did the Europeans. But anyway, speaking about constitutional transfer of power, this is the same Bolton on Fox News last week that said the U.S. has a lot at stake amidst the ongoing Venezuelan crisis, given the fact that it has the world's second largest oil reserves that they will try to privatize and give to them American companies. You can bet on that. Hey, look what's going on in the Congo. Oh, yeah, crazy stuff going on there, people being slaughtered. They had an election a couple of weeks ago. Catholic Church said this other guy won by 60% of the votes, but they put in the other flunky. Riots, killing people. Hey, Bolton, bullshit Bolton. How come you're not shooting your fat mouth off about that one? Or this one. Zimbabwe crackdown. Security forces killing and beating brings back memories of worst days of Mugabe. Violent crackdown on protests and rumors of a plot to overthrow the newly elected president. It goes on and on. Hey, where's America? We're busy killing people in Somalia and Sudan. We don't have time to go to Zimbabwe, but we'll get there soon. Sudan protests spread despite crackdown. 35 cities, 45 civilians dead. Hey, where's all the American media? How come nobody's talking about freedom and democracy? Oh, you know why in Sudan? Because most of the oil now, because of the U.S. deal, is in South Sudan. They split the joint up. Hey, America, America, preaching democracy and freedom. American airstrikes kill civilians, including children. Yep, local Afghan officials are blaming the American military for 2 airstrikes that killed 29 people this week. But who cares? It's not in the media. Hey, they got that guy Roger Stone, didn't they? Haven't heard from Stormy Daniels lately. What a bunch of disgusting freaks. It's America. Yep. YouTube to curb misleading videos. YouTube said it will stop recommending as many videos that feature conspiracy theories and other false claims, moving to address long-standing criticisms that algorithms help spread disinformation. Oh, yeah, like Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction, or the disinformation the American government is selling about Venezuela. You freaky YouTubers, man, the Twitterers, the Facebooks. Hey, it's one of your top trends for 2019. That's right, censorship, 2019. Look what's going on. Censorship, wars, And where's the media and all of them Democrats? All behind it. That's right. Not one of the little clowns in the presidential reality show 2020 on the Democratic side that are running for the White House have made one comment about where they stand with Venezuela. But you know where we stand. Mind your own damn business. Fix up your own country. Stop regime change and occupy peace. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.